In this video, let us solve this problem. The problem is, if the resultant is 0, if the resultant of this P, Q and 10 forces or 10 vectors are 0, find P and Q. I always use this force because force is the simplest vector that I can think of, right? If the resultant is 0, find P and Q. Or these vectors can be displacement or anything, right? So if the resultant is 0, find the P and Q vectors. So how we do this problem? Say my resultant R vector R equal Rx plus Ry. So the magnitude is Rx squared Ry squared whole thing square root. So the resultant vector or the magnitude of the resultant vector is 0, which means this quantity is 0. If this quantity is 0, what can you say about Rx and Ry? So these two also, I mean Rx and Ry should also be equal to 0. So Rx vector should be 0, Ry vector should be 0, right? Suppose if these two values have values, I mean if Rx and Ry have values, then magnitude should not be equal to 0. So they say the resultant is 0, which means the magnitude of the resultant vector. The magnitude of the resultant vector is 0. Alright? Okay. If the resultant is 0, the magnitude of Rx and Ry should be 0. Or the Rx and Ry vector should be 0. You may think that if Rx and Ry are in opposite, I mean to, let's say, -5 and +5, in this case the resultant vector is not 0. If you, I mean, you cannot, you add vector, you don't add like numbers, you just add vectors. So this is not possible. I mean, for the resultant vector to be 0, Rx and Ry should be 0. For example, in the right triangle, if the hypotenuse is 0, if this is 0, these two sides should be equal to 0. I mean, in this right angle triangle, if the hypotenuse is 0, these two sides should also be 0, because if hypotenuse is 0, there is no any triangle, right? So let's use Rx 0 expression. So what is Rx? My Rx equal P cosine 60 plus Q cosine 60 minus 10 equal 0. Okay, so I need sorry, I do know what cosine 60 is 0.5, P by 2 plus Q by 2 minus 10 equal 0, which I have an equation like P plus Q equal 20. This is my equation 1. So I solve this equation like this. And what is my Ry? My Ry, P sine 60 minus Q sine 60. So there is no y component for this force, so this is 0. Oh, then I can cancel out sine 60, because I can divide over everything by sine 60. Then I get P minus Q equal to 0, P equal Q. This is my second equation. Wow, I get P equal Q. So then I use this equation in 1, so it's P equal Q. I can write it equation number 1, like P equal Q, then 2Q equal 20. So Q equal 10 Newton. Oh, I just found the magnitude of Q. And Q, if Q equal 10, and then from 2, P equal Q, equation 2 says P is also 10 Newton. Simple like this. So I just found my P and Q vector. So my P vector equal 10 Newton. My Q vector is again 10 Newton.